We will move on to agenda item 31, Yuba City Purchasing System Ordinance and Purchasing Policies Update. Mr. Morrison.
Glasses up here, so if you're still in the audience and you need glasses, there they are. Okay, I'm really glad I chose the color scheme of green and purple in my presentation tonight. With this item, I do want to thank all the work put in by Public Works Analyst Scarlett Harris, who was unable to attend and present tonight, but Scarlett did a fantastic job putting this together and carrying forward the work of Finance and Public Works from, this has been in the works for about 2 years now. Perfect, thank you. So Muni Code and policy was last updated in 2008, and this came after a reorganization of a prior city manager. Ideally, we wouldn't wait 15 years to redo a policy update, but that's what's happened, that's what's occurred. And so with that, that update, the city saw a bidding threshold doubled from 25,000 to 50,000. Decentralized purchasing was not changed in the code itself. Staff reviewed the current policy, received feedback from departments, vendors, and other agencies. And we were seeking to streamline without ceding the important control of purchasing. And we also were looking for clarifying language in the policy and in the code. We were able to restructure the guidelines for different purchases and organize for ease of navigation. Adjust dollar thresholds, which again, after 15 years, the dollar thresholds hadn't changed at all. And we were able to define decentralized a little bit better. We were able to come up with a better definition or to better explain public contract code, vendor relations, formal bids, sole source justifications, and the way we evaluate bids and specifications. The changes to the authorization thresholds are on the slide. I think I made those big enough to see. You can see what the current limits are now. We're doing small purchase orders for all purchases less than $1,000, and we would raise that to $5,000. Department heads now have discretion for $5,000. And we're proposing to raise that limit to $25,000. Finance director myself has discretion, and I sign off on all purchases that are up to between $5,000 and $25,000, and we're proposing that number go to $50,000. City manager signs off on all purchases between $50,000 or $25,000 and $50,000. We're proposing that goes to $100,000, and council currently today sees all purchases over $50,000 either at the beginning of the year or throughout the year in staff reports. We're proposing to change that number to over $100,000. There are exceptions to procurement requirements, and we're just making sure that we are outlining that well and better in the current code and policy. These are not departures from what we're currently doing, but we just are trying to define them better. With professional services, there's really no competitive requirement, but it is recommended. Public projects are all subject to public contract code. There is a direct pay list that finance has been maintaining for many years. I think this goes back to 2003, 2004 or so. For unique procurements such as checks, payments to other governmental agencies, banks, utilities, and dues and subscriptions, where it just doesn't make sense to necessarily encumber the funds and create a purchase order. And then we also just reiterate that piggybacking from other agencies' formal bids is an acceptable method of procurement. Recommendation is to introduce an ordinance amending Chapter 6 of Title 2 of the Yuba City Municipal Code by title only and waive the first reading. And then B, adopt a resolution adopting the Purchasing Policies and Procedures Manual update to become effective concurrently with the proposed ordinance. How may I answer your questions?
Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Any questions from the council? All right. Any questions from the public? Okay. Any online?
No public comment.
Then I will bring it back to the council for action. I have a motion.
Second?
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.